Okay, so we're going to be talking about reducing remakes, but using AI as a tool, and how we are coming up with AI solutions to help in the operations part of the business. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So you hear a lot of talk about AI. There's a lot of AI boot camps out there. There's a lot of AI webinars. There's gurus on Facebook. And we're trying to peel that all back and just bring some simple, real, practical solutions, or even just educate on how you can start using it even now today, or how we can help you use it and make it better and get things implemented that you could start right away and not have to do long, lengthy projects that don't produce a return. So that's what we're really all about, and that's why we started this 4-part series. So some of the things we're gonna kind of brush through this real quick, but what are we all about, and what is Emersoft all about? What's Kaplan Consulting all about? So we decided to come together, and myself being in the stone industry, working in the stone business, having my own shops, bringing that lens to it, and then now my consulting practice where I'm involved in a lot of other companies' stone businesses, what solutions that we're bringing to the table or we're working to develop to try to bring things right away. So I found what I believe one of the best in the business from a software development side with experience in other industries, and then using what I know about the stone business and working with the Emersoft team who I found to bring some solutions who are already doing this now as we speak. Even from the last call that we had, we did a few discovery calls and already completed a few solutions within less than 3 weeks' time that are already out in the presses being worked. So we're excited about that. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we're all about. So what are we talking about here? So we're on the second of the 4-part webinar series. We're going to do one a month. We do have recordings if you missed the first one, but we did one on sales, and we did a little just teaser on the sales. We had an AI agent that was a receptionist that we kind of just showed how you can use an AI tool as a receptionist, answer your phone calls, help facilitate, and help answer some questions before the even sales process starts, so to improve that experience. We showed some tools on doing some mock-ups and some visualizers with AI that can be used in real life. And we actually did a project right after that with an architect that put their schematics in our system that we created, and now we created a full rendering of the home, which is pretty cool. That was done in less than a 2-week time with the Emersoft team. So now today we're talking about operations. So rework's a hot topic, comes up in all my consulting. And so that's where we thought might be a good part to start. So just to kind of get our minds open, I'm sure everybody's experienced this. Maybe raise your hand or put yes in the chat. But has anybody ever dropped a slab on the floor? Like these two guys, these two good-looking guys that are on the fab shop of Southern Stone. Has that ever happened? Let's see that in the chat. Give me a few little feedback here. Yeah, so you see Hector there on the right? He gets pretty aggravated when stuff like that. He runs the shop. He's the lead. He's pretty pissed off. Pieces broke off. He's like, what the hell's going on here? And then what do? We just take that piece of stone and we throw it in the dumpster, and then we go and we say we got to remake, God damn it. Then we got to go tell the owner, he's upset, and then we leave it. We don't do anything about it. Does that ever happen?
Fix the problem at hand.
So we fix the problem, but we don't come up with the solution to make sure it doesn't repeat. Again, and here's another one. Sync off center. So we have that nice speed label, okay? Great measurement. Syncs on center, but look at that. Look it to the right. It's off center. Does that ever happen? What do we do about it? We get mad. Maybe it's the measure guy. Maybe it's the programmer. Maybe it's the wrong sync. Who knows? Right? But we don't do anything about it. Oh, here's one. Measurements off. Right? Speed label has the measurement. We're at less than 41 inches, doesn't match up. We say, oh crap, we move on. So what do we do? What have we been doing? What do I do with some of my clients that we really try to focus in on that? We create what's called a blood wall meeting. I don't know if anybody does something like this. There's other names for that, but we took from the concept from the book, The Goal, okay, which is a popular book. Some of you guys that are doing synchronous flow in your company, you're familiar with the book. We do it as well at Kaplan Consulting, but we kind of took, the goal is built on looking at your constraint and what's bleeding under the pressure of the output, okay? And we kind of twisted it a little bit and we made it the focus of what, it's blood, it's money out the door, it's money out the door when you have a mistake. And so we need to track it and solve to the root cause. So we took that concept out of the book, we call it the blood wall, and we track those concepts. And what we want to make sure we do is solve to the root cause and then create a process to make sure it doesn't repeat, or what I like to call Groundhog Day, which it repeats itself. Does anybody experience that? You fix the problem, and then it comes back again 6 weeks later. Does that ever happen? All right, so that's what we're here to talk about. So the blood wall, forcing root cause discussion, not blame, and creating action items. Okay, so what do we need to do? That's the blood wall. We need to track the problem. We need to create simplify the categorization, detect the root cause, and develop a solution. One thing that I like to do, instead of just going right to trying to figure out what the problem was and then solving and coming up with the solution, is I take my clients, we go through a 3-step process, and we start from step 1, and we are disciplined about working from that step and going through each step first before we move on. So I asked the question, did that problem happen? Did the piece drop on the floor? Did they drop it? Was the measurement off like we just experienced? Was it a declarative role problem? Do you know, was it somebody's role to make sure that doesn't happen, or train on that process, or what is it? Is it happening because we have a clarity of role problem, number 1? We don't move off that until we really decide. Then we go to number 2, is it a people problem? So, no, everybody knows what their role is, but is it the person? Are they right for the company, right person? Or are they in the right position, right seat? Right person, right seat? Is it a people problem? If we check the boxes on that, we say, nope, nope, not a clarity role problem, not a people problem, we go to the process. Did we develop a process? Is the process developed? If the process is developed, is it trained, is it written, and then is it followed? And what are we doing there? So that's what we got to stick to. Sounds easier said than done. So what's difficult? What's the problem? What's the challenge that my company has, my clients have? What I've seen by doing this for over 20 plus years is we have all these great ideas. We start a great spreadsheet. We start tracking those problems. We might even build it into our CRM system. I've seen that. And then we make it really complicated, and then it dies off. It might hold water for a couple weeks, and then it falls off. Does that happen? Give me some love in the chat. Give me some feedback.
If I'm disciplined for
am
sure.
I off base? It's a discipline for sure. Thank you. So consistency, tracking, and discipline. That's the problem that we're trying to solve. So I brought this problem to Emersoft, and I said, guys, here's the problem I'm having. I need a tool that can capture this quickly, easily, and be able to execute so we don't forget about it. So it doesn't become out of sight of mind. We make it easy for everybody in the company to enter it, because that's the hard part. Guy in the shop floor, you think they're bringing out their laptop after they drop that piece? Right? That doesn't happen. So what are we going to do? So I said, this is the problem. We need some solution, but it must be cost effective and it must be simple. And we must put them in these categories, and we might have to tailor a little bit to meet our needs. So can AI help? They said, of course it can help. So here we go. So now we're gonna show you, I'm gonna turn it over to Powell from Emersoft. He's the super genius that figured out how to do this quickly and fast. And I told him, you got a week. We got a webinar in a week. Help me figure this out. So I'll turn it over to these guys. Why don't you take them through it, Powell? Explain to them how you developed it, and we want them to learn and see the possibilities of AI. That's the important thing.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for the great introduction. So yeah, John came here with a problem and asked if AI can help. And as everyone knows, AI is really good at helping with problems like that, especially when it comes to the data. So we look at the problem and we put something together pretty quickly. And today, I'm going to show you the working product that can help your shop with all those problems, but I also want to show you how this was, like how we reached that point and how we use third-party tools that are already there, so we don't have to come up with, like inventing the wheel again and all that stuff. And of course, we can reduce the cost of developing something like that and put it quickly. And also today's session, the idea is to turn on your imagination and see with problems that you have in your stores, in your shops, how AI can be used and what we can achieve here together. Okay, so here this is the first third-party tool that we used, and the idea is to make it easy and quick for you to collect the data. So as John said, you're in the shop, something happens, nobody has any like laptop with you, or you don't want to think about, explaining the problem with all the details and stuff like that, but you always have a phone on you. So we created that simple form with just a few things to record that you can use on the spot. Take pictures of the problem, what happened, and just upload it to the system. So first of all, we have this little reporter where you can define the reporter. I'm gonna choose Marcin. Then the job name. So the job name, wherever you put here, and you can put the pictures. So you just take a picture of a problem, like is it a broken countertop, or as we were seeing before on the slides, like the measurement and the actual result. And then you can also drop a couple of lines here to give a little bit of context. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to, explain all of that, because our AI agent is going to use that and rephrase it to give it enrich it with just maybe a little bit more information, so it's consistent across the board with all the other issues that you are reporting here. So this is our form, and I also want to show you the backend of that system. So how this data is actually received and what happens next, the modules and things like that. And this is another third-party tool that we use a lot for ourselves to create automations for our clients to put things together pretty quickly. And here we work on those little modules. It's very visual, so it kind of look easy, but when you dive deeper, it might get complicated. A very important part is to understand the data flow and also the structure of the data, because we want to make sure that things are organized and created in the desired way. So here is our data source, which is the form. And let me show you how that works. So I'm going to run a test, and we will see here how things are flowing. So first of all, let me upload the images. Those two issues that we got from Ken. Here I'm uploading those images. And you can explain the problem, like problem with a measurement. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't much, let's say. It can be quick, you can make errors there. It doesn't matter, because AI will correct everything. So the issue, the idea here is to do that quick and dirty, So you don't have to think about it. You just report it, it goes to the system. So I hit submit, and let's go here to our agent. So the data is flowing. I received the information. You see it went through all those modules here. And now our AI agent that I'm going to dive deeper into just in a second is processing all of that. You see that little progress bar. So it's thinking, analyzing all the data, grabbing all the information from the from the cloud, and it's processing the information that we submitted. It takes some time, and when it finishes, it will also go through a couple of next modules when I mainly do data transformation, because as I said, it's also pretty important part of this whole AI game. It's all about the data, it's all about the organized data, and also I was talking about it in our last webinar. So AI is great, it will help you as long as you have organized data. So now everything finished. The AI agent analyzed everything. Now the output went through a couple of other modules where I transformed the data, and the last step is to record it in the Airtable, which is another third party that we use. It's a spreadsheet on steroids where you can quickly customize the view and do a lot of great stuff that I'm also going to show in a second. But for now, let's go back to our actual AI agent. So here is the module with Google Gemini AI, because that's what we are using. And that's what actually we are using for most of our projects. It's currently the most powerful AI module, AI large language module model out there. So here you have a couple of different options. First of all, you need to give them messages, because under the hood, when you talk to AI or like ChatGPT, under the hood, they have this array of messages, and that's what we need to define here. And you also need to define the role, so it knows that it's a user or assistant, because behind under the hood, you can really design the whole conversation with AI by yourself. You can change things on the go, update, and things like that. So you can define the role. We are using user. This is parts. So that's where I create the actual message. So I grab the information that was on the form, the reporter name, the job name, the problem description, and I'm also organizing images, so AI can see them. Like I download those images and pass them on to the AI, so it can analyze the images and see the information from the reporter. And here comes the interesting part. So we also have the system instruction. And system instruction is like a personality that you define the personality, you define the scope of knowledge and context for your AI model. Because if you just go to ChatGPT and start asking questions, it will assume a lot of things. Like you can ask them, like you can assume that something might be clear to you because you are in the stone industry, but for the AI, it's going to try to find the match in the knowledge base across the board, like for all industries, for all the problems. So with the system instruction, we want to give him like a direction. So we define that, okay, so you are working with the stone industry countertops firms. So now it already knows that it should be like the context that you provide, information that you feed him, should be scoped to that particular industry. So you are not like, it doesn't look for, like modeling agencies or whatever, right? depends on the phrases that you use. So here in the system prompt, we define the scope of work, the context, the role definition. As you can see here, I have the objective, so the exact task that we want the AI to perform. Because the more focused is the model, the better is the result. If you ask him to do everything, then all of it is going to be mediocre. But if you specify one thing that you want AI to accomplish, the result is going to be much better. So that's what we want to achieve here in the objective, to make sure that there's this AI, one task defined that we want to achieve, so AI can focus on this one thing. Then we also have the additional information. So in this case, I fed him with information about the departments. We have the programming, we have the sales, admin, fabrication, installation, and template. And each of those departments has a little bit of the description. So we know, so AI understands exactly what it's dealing with. Then another thing is the action logic framework. So we want to we want to give it a direction. Although, of course, we don't want to be too specific because we still want to leave some room for the AI to be creative. Like if you give him all of this information, then we're gonna actually limit the capabilities of AI right now. So that's why we give him direction, we give him some information, but we will leave the room for the AI to identify patterns and run its knowledge. So in this case, I have the action logic framework where I define if it's a human error. So what John was talking about earlier, and if it's a machine error, process gap, just so it has a better understanding and better context of the situation. And then also very important part when you guys design system prompts for your needs is the few shots example. AI is really, really good at spotting patterns. That's why we want to give him a couple of examples. So the problem and then the output. And that was, I took this from John. He's working with some of you guys. He already solved some of the problems. You know, with all the industry knowledge, you defined what was the cause, what is the solution. So we fed him with all of this information as examples, and defined the specific output that we want. And in this case, because we are using the output of the AI and the next tool, I designed the structured data, which is called a JSON object. So we have the properties, and each property has a value. So for the input text like that, I want that was the output. That's the desired output, and this is based on John's knowledge, the industry knowledge, and all the experience that he has. And then I gave him a couple of examples like that. So right now, this is very important part because, as I said, AI is great at spotting patterns, and this is where it looks at the problem and checks the solution, checks the result. And here, the magic, the magic happens.
Can I interject for a second there,
Yes.
Paul? Yeah, so what I want to share with everybody is this was just in one initial go-around. So this is just version 1, get it out there. But what's going to happen as we keep working on issues and putting it through the system, it's going to get better and better and better as we go because it's going to have more information. And so these prompts are going to get better as we go. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly correct, because those are just the data that we collect and the data that the problems that you go through, the solutions that you guys define. All of this are going to be examples for the AI when it runs again. So it gets better and better outcome because it better and better understands those patterns. It will identify patterns. If this happened, that was the solution. If this happened, this is the department. So the more, the better. So a couple of more examples here. The more, the better, really, because, as I said, if we want to get good results, we need to give him examples. If you just go, do this for me, then, it's going to might be random. Might be a good, the answer that you can get, it might be good, but, if you give him examples, then there would be less room for the AI to hallucinate, more patterns. So here we go with the examples, and the last part of the system prompt is actually defining the output rules. So we have the output rules. Analyze the context, output only valid JSON. So I don't want any, great question. Let's look this and that, right? Because we want data. We just want data. So we want to make sure that the AI answers with the structured data. Here we also have the JSON, which is the schema for the output that we want to receive, so we can move on to the next step. And that's how agents work. You define the system prompt, you define the scope of work, you define the task, you define the output. So you can, you always get the same structured data for the next task. And then you have another agent that has another system prompt, that has another task to accomplish, and the input of this agent might be the output of the previous agent. So you basically, if there's a complex problem, you split it into a couple of smaller problems. And each AI agent takes care of one single problem. So the final result is much better than if you would run it like big problem with a lot of different tasks through just one agent. So that's the whole idea here. And then, as you can see, I further explain and define the structure. So the refined description, the type of the data, then the description, professional, grammatically correct summary, and that description is generated based on the image that you submitted and the short context that you provided. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just quickly type it on your phone. Don't think about the grammar. Don't think about details. Just drop it there, so you don't lose time when you are in the shop on the spot. You need to fix the problem, right? But you also want to make sure that the problem is recorded. So here you have all the definitions, like the available options, department names, and all that stuff. And here we finish with the system instructions. And this is very important, that the system instruction is really what defines the agent. And here we have a couple of more options there. Again, we have that response format, which is JSON output. So we don't want any text. I just want the JSON output, so I can use this data later for my spreadsheet. So here we further define the values, the types of and the property names. Here I also have like a couple of different modules to just define the data. So I run the iterator. It creates the array, and for the attachments, then I parse it as a JSON, and here is my Airtable module where I actually fill out the spreadsheet. So I provide the job name, I have the job name, the description, the rich description, which is the description that was enriched by the AI. So we record both your context. We don't want to lose any data. So whatever you typed is going to be there as well, but also the rich description. Then the attachments, we also keep that for the reference. When later on you meet with John once a week to go through all of those problems, you wanna make sure that everything is in one place. Here we have the reporter, so the information, like who reported that, the action. We also have your AI to propose an action for like what to do. To fix that problem, what to do to prevent this problem from happening in the future. So if it's a process problem, then it can propose that maybe look into this and that, right? And as John said, this is really V1, just to present what's possible, just to turn on your imagination. What can be achieved, right? Then we have the department name, cost category, root cause analysis. All of that was generated by AI, and we save it to our Airtable. And then let's go to the actual blood bowl. So I have this Airtable, looks like a spreadsheet because this is really a spreadsheet. And let me show you one of the entries. So that's what I input, like the piece does not match, measure on speed label. This is what AI generated based on that information and on those two images that I uploaded. Then we have the date created. This is also great because you don't need to really type anything. This is just, automatically captured when you reported that issue. And this will be very useful for the next step when I will show you different views of this data, because that's also important to make it easy for everyone to understand and analyze. So we have the created date, the cost category. It's I have, in this case, I just have like 4 categories: material and labor, truck roll, labor only, admin delay. You can later on group it, filter by this data, see, and then get some analysis like what kind of problems happens the most often. Then we have the reporter information action, what AI proposed to do. Then the department that it defines. So based on the problem and based on those examples that we had in the context, it will propose, like, understand the department where it happened. So all of this data, as you can see, like, we have a lot. Just by inputting, let me refresh that, just really by providing 2 fields. You just drop images, you just drop a little bit of context, and the rest is really generated by our agent and added to the wall. So you don't have to go to spreadsheets, input data manually, type it here, there, make sure, there are no typos, because in our case, it doesn't really matter because AI will correct that anyway. Easy way of adding data to the system. So now, once we have this information in the system, now we can have a couple of different views. So for example, I created this Kanban board where you can track issues by the status. So you might run the meeting once a week and see where we at. Okay, so this is already being taken care of, like this is in progress. Things like this is done. You can see and move things around like you would manage a project. There are, very complex software. Like for our company, we use a lot of project management tools, and they're really helpful for managing things like that. But there was nothing that you could use really for those issues that happen in the shop, or if they were, maybe they were either limited or maybe too complex, because we don't really need anything complex. It's all about capturing the data and easy analysis. Then I have another view that is filtered to show only issues that were reported last week. So you can have this focused view, and the categorization is done by the department. So you can actually see, how many issues last week happened in what department. And you can move things around. You see, like at glance, the image that was attached, a little bit of description, the action proposed by AI. So really the possibilities here are endless. And as I said, and as John already mentioned, like this is V1. This is something that we wanted to create for the webinar, and also something that we wanted to show you how things are done when you hear about AI agents. Oh, the agent does this or that. But in reality, it's a system prompt with the correct context and the problem that is broken down into smaller pieces and addressed one by one. So that's how things are. That's how things are working. That's what we also built for our customers, and that's how we improve processes for ourselves in Emersoft, for John in John Kaplan Consulting, and for you if you would need any help in the future. So there's no need to invent the wheel. We leverage tools that already exist and just use them to solve the problem. Let me go back here to our presentation. We added a couple of things here. So the new way of collecting data, of capturing those problems. Capture the problem is of adding data to the system. This is the friction point that we want to reduce or actually eliminate, because that's the same in any industry. The more complex is adding the data, the least possible like people's gonna use it, right?
Yeah, so there's two takeaways that we were hoping that would come across in the webinar. So we're doing the 4-part series is just to open up everybody's mind in the industry, what's possible out there, what's possible to do with AI. We did a few examples in sales. We've actually got inquiries in our discovery calls to do more different projects. One in commercial bidding, one in mining sales data. Now we're doing operational tools because people are asking about that. So we thought this would be a good one to present just to open up your mind on how to use AI or how you can use it. There's a lot of things you can do on your own as well, but we just wanted to share that. So hopefully seeing an AI takeaway, I know it looked really complicated what he was doing, but we took that complication and then made it simple because we had a problem, because at the end of the day, we want to be able to track problems and solve to the root cause. We were using spreadsheets on a Google Drive. That's how we were doing it. We were tracking on Google Sheets. We were going each week. We were bringing them up. That's what I was doing with my clients. So we would have a production meeting and we would have a specific blood wall meeting. But we saw the cumbersome data input and things were getting lost. So that's what drove us to this. So that was just an example to share with you guys.
I was doing my best to make it look simple, but hopefully I didn't overwhelm anyone. And those tools that I was using, the tools that I explained here, they all free, really. So as John said, like you can go do that yourself. The recording, we're gonna have the recording of that webinar, so you can even follow step by step.
If we opened up anybody's minds or ideas, we're doing discovery calls. If you want to spitball a few ideas with us, we're doing 30-minute discovery calls, really no charge. When you scan it, we have a small donation we want to give back to the industry. We also want to make it a little bit sticky, actually, to be part of that and get that information in that call. So we're donating. It's a simple $10 donation. Goes to Silica Safety Initiatives. I'm working with ISFA to purpose that money. So it's not a huge donation, but we've had some success where we've had what do we have, 9 or 10 discovery calls from the last one. So raising a little bit of money on each call, and hopefully we'll get more this time. But when you scan it, it will ask for a $10 donation, and then we book a discovery call with our team. You get all three of us. We spitball issues that you might want to develop or some type of AI tool. And then we've already started 3 or 4 projects, as I mentioned earlier, just from those calls. We're also going to be at the trade show, which we'll have up. But we'll leave the screen up so you guys can QR scan if you want to register while we're talking. But let's go through some of the questions.
I'm Tori. I help with project management at Emersoft. So if you start any work with these guys, you'll probably be getting emails from me. So I'll start with the questions here. So there was a conversation here about if this is the Gemini API, is it a standalone LLM, and is it really true if this will get better the more you use it? Will it learn more?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I was using is the Gemini API. You can generate that. If you have a Gmail account, you can go to AI Google Studio and create a Gemini API key. And you will just need to connect your credit card because those big companies, they charge by the usage, by tokens. So the longer is the conversation, the bigger is the text, the bigger is the image, the more tokens. But it's really not that expensive. Like for this kind of use, we're talking about $5 a month probably of the usage. And in terms of getting better, like it's not gonna get better just by using it because this data is not being saved. I mean, it's being saved on Google servers for their purposes, but it's not for your purpose. So it's not really learning. The more you use it, it doesn't really learn about you. So if you want this to get better, the more you use it, you need to create that system yourself. So in our case, for example, let me show you here. If we wanted to make it smarter and actually use the data that we submit, we might need to add a couple of modules here prior to where we ask our AI agent. So first, I would run a search on Airtable to see if similar issues were already submitted. Then, if there were issues already there, if there are issues already there that are similar, I would use them, grab them, and use them as a context. So basically, I would extend those examples in the system prompt that I was showing you with the information that we already submitted in the past. And that's how it would get better because the AI API calls are stateless. So with every single API call, you need to send the whole conversation with all the information at once. So it doesn't remember anything. It just needs to have access to it. So we want to make sure that all this information is in the context, and the context is focused. So instead of feeding it with all the information that we have, because a lot of this information might not be relevant, and it will be just a noise which distracts AI, we want to make sure like the secret sauce is to get the focused context, get the context that is relevant to the question and to the task. So you get that information, similar issues that were solved, see what was the solution, use that information, feed it in the context inside of system instruction, and that would be your knowledge that AI gets better.
Very detailed answer. Thank you, Pavo. That was great. And the person that asked the question was also named Pavo, so maybe there's a kinship there. We have a question from Forrest, and John, this might go to you. It says, would you say this is more of a downstream control rather than an upstream preventative system?
Yeah, I don't want to I guess, create any impression that AI is going to come in and save the world and stop every remake that you're going to have in your shop. So I would say it's an upstream and a downstream, because you do have to get your team to enter, but that's creating the culture in the organization. So culture's still going to be very important. As you guys know, I'm a big proponent of that. The other aspect is that it's the consistency and the discipline of keeping score and then working towards the solution, so taking through the process. So it's really creating that teamwork and getting everybody involved for accountability that's going to make this work. Where things fail is a lot of times that I see is we try to make it too complicated, or it's cumbersome to collect the information, and then you don't have a good tool, and that's what this is a tool to make sure that we create that discipline and follow up. So, for example, I started a fitness program, and I have an app called MyFitnessPal, and I track all my food. I would never track all my food if I didn't have that app. I have the app on my phone. I take a picture of it. It tells me how many calories it is, how many carbs, how much fat, how much protein. And then I do a check-in each week and I add it up. And that creates accountability, so I get better. This is no different in the business. This is that MyFitnessPal of the operational issues. I hope that answered that question.
As John said, this is the ease of collecting data. And that can be just, one part of the whole system that will prevent those issues from happening in the future. So first of all, you need to know what are the issues. So you want to make sure that you record all of them. AI here in that system gives you some actionable propositions, like what is the proposed action, or what is the root cause of that problem. And then you can have maybe another agent that analyzes that and maybe create some kind of SOPs, or you can use Whale to get those SOPs so that would prevent this from happening in the future. Maybe some checkboxes for people if this is operations problem. So that can be just one piece of the whole system.
Another question we had, I guess it was more of a statement, but I'm going to treat it like a question. Sounds like I need to hire a programmer to input all of these. At what point is programming knowledge required or not?
To build a system, you might need some technical help, because as I explained here, those are just, modules that you can drag and drop, but you still need to understand the data flow. Like in this case, I had to create this, iterator that would create an object for each attachment to make sure that if you upload 2 images, it works. If you upload 1 image, it works. If you upload 3 images, it works, because there's nothing that will provide this to the AI outside of the box. So you need to do a little bit of data transformation. But once it's done, as you can see, now you don't really need any programmer experience. You just have this ready form. And that tool, by the way, that I'm showing here is also another drag and drop. So you just design the form that I need the reporter, I want the job name. You can add different fields there, and it will be all added here through that module, because that tool directly integrates with this make that I was using. So I didn't really have to do any programming here, but you need to understand the data flow.
As these questions are being answered, if they create more questions for you, I encourage you to drop them in the chat. I know even for me, AI can be intimidating and it can be hard to envision maybe all the uses for it. One question from JR, is the entered data secure? If you enter job names or clients are referenced in this information you upload, is it accessed anywhere?
For Airtable, the data is pretty secure. You can check their, privacy policy, but wherever you input to that Gemini module, so wherever it goes to AI, you need to expect that this data will be collected by the owner of the AI module, like AI LLM. In this case, it's Google. So most likely there are ways to anonymize the data. So for example, if you don't want the job name to be passed to the AI, and you don't actually, AI doesn't really need that information for the blood wall, you can just submit this information. Like in my case, this is my message. So I have the reporter, field reporter, the job name, and the raw description. But we don't need to really give him the job name. It will generate that based on the description and on images. But the rule of thumb, whatever you pass to the AI, you need to expect this information to be, saved on the saved in the database of those, huge players.
Or if you did a Google search, Google knows you did that search, right?
Yeah. Like your phone is listening to you. Why you talk about holidays in Cancun, and the next day you get all the Cancun resorts as ads. Yeah, it's all about the data. The data is the value.
Another question, could your team pair it with financial monitoring with the operational insights?
So really depends. Like this is very broad question, right? Depends on what is your financial software, how do you monitor financials, and what does it mean? Like if it comes to estimates, so let's say you want to see was the cost of each of this problem, then you can do that either manually when you meet with someone to analyze those problems, because here I also have, let me go back, I also have the field for cost, so you can input it yourself. Let's say if you analyze this and then later on get some analytics or reporting from Airtable, like to see what was the cost of all the problems in this department in last month. You can get this information outside of this tool, but you need to record the cost. Or we can, expand on the functionality of this tool and feed them some extra information. Maybe you have some formula how you estimate those problems. We can feed it with the AI inside of that system instruction context. And we can ask to also estimate that. It will input a number. You can, review that later, correct that if it's wrong, or keep it if it's okay. We call it a human in the loop, because AI can do all that stuff. It does all these things, but it's always good to have some kind of review or confirmation. So you get this data, you don't need to input it yourself, but then it's good to review what's there, correct if it's wrong, keep it if it's okay. And that's why also later, if we build a mechanism to actually read that data before we send the request to AI agent and input it in the context, then it would get better, because you would review the data, you would confirm, okay, this was the problem, that was the cost. And it would spot patterns and would be better to, it would allow, be better with the estimations, if this is what you're asking for. If you're talking about another third-party tool, depends on what you use, depends if there's any integration available for that tool, depends on what you want to achieve. But for the most part, if you use something modern, there is a way to connect that and get that data, put it together. The opportunities are endless.
For example, Pal, like let's say that it was a problem on an install and it doesn't require any material, but it is categorized as a truck roll. Like the guys left the shop to go do a service call. We could apply a dollar value to the cost of the crew and the truck doing the service call. And then if AI determines that this is a no material mistake, like something was left at the job site or there was just a caulking or a cosmetic thing that had to be done, then it would report like truck roll, service call, the crew cost $250 an hour or something like that. The crew and the truck, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We just need this information in the context. So you would give him some, let's say, 2-hour truck roll equals $500 cost. Or this problem happened, this is the category, and that was the cost. So the more examples we have, the better it will be the answers. So I have another example here, actually. Let me show you. I was testing that. Without images, just a text, and it identified this as a labor only. Then I also have the severity and the cost category here. So yeah, labor only. And then it can identify is it low, high, department, it was template. So yeah, the more data we feed him in form of a context, the more accurate is the data, the better will be the result. And yes, it can estimate things.
Now that report would be available on your Airtable, right? So you would be able to run a report to see like what your total remake cost was for a given period.
Yeah, that's correct. But also Airtable, like one of the benefits of Airtable is how it integrates with other tools. So you can use Make, you can use Zapier to actually get this data, and you can get another AI agent like that, the Google Gemini module, that would, let's say, we could run this automation once a week, and it would get all the data from the past week, organize it within departments, and then feed it with the AI agent to create some analysis and send an email with that analysis to you or someone else.
Well, that's very cool, like automated reporting almost. So
exactly, yeah. And you can have this AI agent, like this module. We would design the system information. We would design the context. So the relevant information about the report. Run that report once a week. Send an automated email. Or maybe if you use communication channels like Slack or Discord, you can get this information, like a message from the report, with the report once a week. And that was really the purpose of this webinar, to show you possibilities, to explain you how those things are created, because this is most of the time what happens behind the scenes when you hear about AI agents.
Yeah, I think it kind of is an eye-opener to see like what a real agent is, because I think a lot of the times we see AI and we're stuck in GPT chats, right? With the agent that's just responding out of the LLM, but not a structured tool that performs a task, right?
The real value of AI agent is taking action. ChatGPT doesn't really take action for you. It can give you all the information, but the action needs to be taken by you. With AI agents, when they connect to those tools, they can take action. So with let's say with that Airtable, it takes action of saving the data in that table. Then if we get the report, it would take action of getting the data, let's say once a week. Sending it to that AI agent would be just basically an API call to Google Gemini, get all the information and send that data to your own email. And this is an action. Like I have an agent for myself that schedules calls because I'm on calls all the time. And then, I operate in a different time zones like Eastern, Pacific. So I just say, schedule a call about this and that on Monday at 10 a.m. PST, and it automatically adds the Zoom link to that event, creates the event in my calendar, and send invites to people that I provided with emails. And I don't need to be worried about different time zones, converting the time and things like that. Everything goes automatically to my calendar, and I use Apple shortcuts for that.
And it integrates with the CRM. We use HubSpot.
Yeah. Let's go to the next question.
We had just like a summarizing question. So the idea is this would be deployed throughout the organization. That is fabricators, installers, every person who touches the product where problems can occur. They're asking about the scope here. How applicable is this across the company?
So an operational error could happen in any area. I like to boil it down into just 4 simple buckets and then focus in on those areas. So was it a sales problem? Was it a template problem? Was it a production problem? Or was it an installation problem? And so that's where I like to narrow it down and focusing on those 4 categories. So we'll be using this tool with my clients to boil it down to into those buckets and then prioritize and solve to the root cause and then create some action item.
One question related to like financial data. By the way, come to our next webinar. So next month, it's all about finance.
So next month, so remember this is a 4-part series. So we broke it down into sales, operations, finance, and marketing. So next month, we're going to maybe, we haven't decided yet, but it's either going to be finance or marketing. And then the last one will be either finance or marketing. So we're going to have another one next month as well.
And we'll be at the TIES conference too. So if you'll be in Vegas, you can come talk to us in person as well.
So we're going to be myself, the Emersoft team. A lot of you guys know about Whale, our process documentation system, which has a lot of AI built in it. We're going to have representation from Whale. We're all going to be at the booth 5536 with, we're sharing space with Fifth Gear Technologies. So we're going to have a whole setup there, and you can interact with all of us from Kaplan Consulting and Emersoft. We're going to be there, as well as Whale is going to be there as well. So take a picture of that screen. So don't forget that 5536, right in the main entrance area. Great location.
Okay, are you locked into Gemini, or could a user configure it with Anthropic? I also imagining any other AI agent.
Yeah, you're not locked in. You can use any AI module as you want. My choice is Gemini. It's one of the best AI models out there right now, and on the market depends on really what you need. But tools like Make, Zapier, they really have modules for all the AI models. So you can use Anthropic, you can use Gemini, you can use GPT. This is not a problem. And I know that some of those models are better with different things. Like Anthropic is really good with coding, development, and mathematics and calculations.
The options are there. What the report would show.
Well, Tori, let's tell them about the free discovery call, because I think that's a great value. You guys get 3 experts who are in the field every day, all day, Saturday, Sunday. And so you get us for 30 minutes for nothing. So I would book it like literally all the time if I could, but you can only book it once.
And that code, schedule a call if you want to talk more about this. We're very excited to talk about projects. If you have an idea of a process that is too cumbersome for you, or you find your team can't stick to it because it's too complex, that could be a really good option for an AI agent like this. It doesn't have to be Bloodwall. This is just an example. So I believe with that, we answered all the questions that are in the chat. Marcin has shared the webinar special URL on the side in the chat as well, if you want to reach out there. Otherwise, we're really excited to hear what excites you. So we're here. Thank you all so much